Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Education Pulse. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's... Hello everyone, and welcome to today's Education Plus Global Classroom on Growing Through Failure. I'm your host, Stuart Jansen. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm so excited that you have joined us today. This program has been brought to you by Shift 25, a movement to cultivate a bold and thriving Canada. Shift 25 brings you Shift Failure, an initiative teaching youth critical skills such as perseverance, grit, resilience, and determination through the lens of failure. Check it out. What a great movement. And just by being here today, you're already a part of it. This program is not just a presentation, but a conversation. And we'll be having activities throughout the show that you can participate in on your own, with the people around you, or if you're watching live, in the chat. I want to begin this program by acknowledging that the land that I am joining from today, in Toronto, Ontario, is the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We should all celebrate the culture, teachings, and history of the Indigenous peoples, who are the original caretakers of this land. Now, as we begin talking about learning from failure, let's think about the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and which one relates most to this topic. If you don't remember, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, are a set of global goals that tackles the world's most pressing issues by the year 2030. Take a look at the SDGs and let me know in the chat which one you think is most related to learning from failure. I see a lot of different answers in the chat, and that's okay. This topic affects so many of the goals. In fact, even the concept of the SDGs was built on learning from past initiatives that had failed. But the SDG I think it impacts the most is SDG 9, Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure. Failure is a major step in innovation, and we'll explore that more throughout today's program. But first, let's play a game. I call this game Flag Finder. The game is simple. I will show you 3 flags and the name of a country. And in the chat, or with the people around you, you have to guess which flag belongs to that country. Let's try round 1. Which flag belongs to Canada? It's A. Now let's try which flag belongs to England. That one was C. Now, which flag belongs to India? It's A again. Now for round 2. Which flag belongs to Djibouti? That one was B. Which flag belongs to Azerbaijan? That's A. And which flag belongs to Brunei? It's A again. How did you do? It looks like a lot more people got questions right in round 1 than round 2. Turn to someone beside you or use the chat to answer the following 3 questions. First, how many questions did you get right in each round? If I made the whole game like round 1 or like round 2, which would be more fun? And which round did you learn more from? Even though most of you were much more successful in round 1, it would get pretty boring to play a game where you know most of the answers, obviously. And even though round 2 was a lot more difficult, when you got an answer right, it was way more exciting. Our brains are more engaged, and activities are more exciting when we are being challenged. Even if you didn't get a single question right, you still walk away from this game having learned flags that you didn't know about before, or the name of countries you may not have heard of before. Being challenged may be harder, but it's the only way we can learn something new and improve ourselves. When did we stop stepping out of our comfort zone to explore the world, try new things, and develop new skills? We went from these blobs that could only cry and eat to these machines experimenting with the world and testing our boundaries. We learned to walk, talk, read, and write, draw, and play games. There was not a concept of, I can't, only not yet. Somewhere down the road though, things changed. If someone asks me if I can skateboard, speak Spanish, or do magic, suddenly my answer is just no. I had this idea in my mind that there are people that are skaters or magicians or speak other languages, and I'm just not one of them. This concept is called a fixed mindset. The idea that your intelligence, talent, and other qualities are natural and not changeable. You might have caught yourself saying, I'm just not a math person, for example. But that mentality is not very useful, and it certainly is not true. To be good at something, you need to be bad at it first. None of us came to this earth playing guitar or juggling or designing websites. They are skills that we learn through practice. And if you only practice at a level that you can succeed, you can never really grow. To become better, you need to try something harder than you've ever tried before. And that means you'll most likely fail at first. But failure is an important step in the journey. When we fail, we may feel embarrassed or disappointed. We never want to feel that way again, especially if it was public. But what do we do about it? We analyze what went wrong. We strategize. We practice. We seek advice until we go back out ready to try again, better than we ever were before. That is the beauty of failure. Michael Jordan has hit 9 game-winning shots in his career, the most in NBA history. He famously said, 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. If he has made 9 and missed 26, that means he only made 26% of the big shots. That doesn't sound that great, But in order to make the big shots, the ones people remember, you have to be willing to miss the big shots. As hockey legend Wayne Gretzky once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So let's all be willing to step out of our comfort zone, take on our challenges knowing that we may fail, and work to improve ourselves, knowing we may fail again, but hopefully in new ways. Let's celebrate each other when we miss the big shot, because it's the only way we will ever make them. Let's shift failure together. Now let's play a game of two truths and a lie. I'm going to tell you 3 facts about a famous person, and you have to tell me which one is false. Let's try it out. Round 1. Colonel Sanders is famous for his delicious KFC fried chicken. Which of these facts about him is not true? Is it A, his chicken recipe was rejected by over 1,000 restaurants? Is it B, at 62 years old, he was bankrupt when his restaurant failed? Or is it C, he never lived to see KFC's success? The answer is C. Though he started KFC quite late in life, at 62 years old, 12 years later, in 1964, he sold the company for $2 million, plus $40,000 a year for the rest of his life, so that they could use his face as a logo. Now for round 2. These authors were all rejected more than 25 times before publishing their first book. Which one is the lie? Is it A, Dr. Seuss, B, Margaret Atwood, or is it C, Stephen King? The answer is B. Margaret Atwood found success early with her first book, but Dr. Seuss and Stephen King were rejected almost 30 times each before finally having their first book published. For round 3, Albert Einstein is one of the greatest minds of all time, but which of these facts about him is not true? At 16 years old, he failed the entrance exam to his dream university in Switzerland. He failed high school math, or his PhD thesis was rejected as being irrelevant. The answer is B. Though this is a common urban legend, Einstein was actually quite strong at math in high school. What do you notice about these examples? These are all people who we now know went on to be extraordinary, successful, and famous people. But in these moments of bankruptcy, rejection, and failure, they were probably filled with self-doubt and fear of what was ahead. It was probably easy for them to quit, and if they did, their story would have just ended there, at failure. But they chose to overcome and persevere and have become household names. Thanks for playing Two Truths and a Lie with me. Next up, I'm excited to present today's guest speaker. Naila Moloo is a 17-year-old innovator from Ottawa, Ontario. She's passionate about leveraging technology to address our global consumption of fossil fuels. She also loves reading, playing sports, and writing. Her debut novel was published when she was 14 and was a #1 bestseller in magical realism. Today, she will share about how she faces failure and the role it has played on her journey. Thanks for joining us today, Nyla. Can you start off by just telling us a bit about yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Nyla. I'm 17 years old and I go to Elmwood School. I'm going to my final year, grade 12. So I am a climate tech researcher, or attempting to be so. I'm working on a few different projects. The first is a bioplastic from a species called duckweed. So I'm trying to work with a second generation aquatic feedstock, meaning a crop that humans don't consume and that doesn't take up land to grow. Unlike most of the crops that go into bioplastics, which are like corn and sugarcane, for example, things that take up land to grow and that we need to eat. It's part of our diet. So The other project I'm working on is a flexible solar panel. I'm working at the intersection of solar energy and nanotechnology, trying to create portable, lightweight, flexible solar panels that do not require plastic in their production.
Amazing! You're already such an accomplished person with so many great successes. Can you share about a time you have failed?
I fail a lot in the lab. One time that I failed, which was quite a long failure, was I was trying to basically extract the starch from the duckweed material. It's the first step that you need to take in creating the bioplastic, and I thought that it would be super easy, maybe take a week, 2 weeks tops. It ended up being kind of the hardest part of the entire process, and I've actually now been working on optimizing it for, that specific part, maybe a year and a half. And there were a lot of failures, probably maybe even more than that, maybe like 10 failures, where I tried to do this and I was trying different processes and we got literally no starch extracted. And then it was only after about 10 months that we saw finally, starch in a test that we ran. And so it really goes to show that these kinds of things do not happen very quickly, especially in science. And I really thought that it would go a lot faster, but this is just a part of science, and it's a natural step in the pursuit of innovation.
Thanks for sharing that. It's great hearing about your resilience in the face of failure. Why do you think failure is important to face in life?
I do think failure is very important to face in life, especially from a young age, because in school you're kind of taught that failure is bad. It has very negative connotations. In school, if you fail, that is definitely not a good thing. It's not viewed as a good thing. But failure in the real world is very natural and kind of something that you have to learn to embrace. It's never going to be fun, really, but especially when you're trying to create some kind of innovation, do something that hasn't been done before. If it was easy, then it would have already been done. And failure is something that is just absolutely going to happen. So it's very important to kind of understand this and build up the resilience to be able to look failure in the face and be able to kind of step past that, and continue making progress, even if it takes a long time, even if it takes a lot of failure, because you love what you're doing.
Finally, I would love to know if you have any words of advice for other young changemakers.
I would say to kind of just start looking for something that you're interested in and talking to people in the space. It can seem a little daunting when you're on your own, reading papers even, and understanding things can be difficult on your own, but there are a lot of people who are willing to help you. So I would say to go on LinkedIn and start reaching out to people in this field, in this industry, and asking them for help, asking them for advice, because networking has been really big for me in terms of going from an idea to actually, being in labs and getting expert advice on my projects. So it's not just something that I think is going to work, it's something that, people are giving their input into to make it work to the best it can. So I think networking and just really getting out there, getting on LinkedIn is really great, and something that anybody can do.
Thanks, Nyla. You are such an inspiring person, and it's encouraging to see that even you are uncomfortable with failure, but still face it head on your journey to success. You can support Nyla's work by checking out her book series, The Chronicles of Illusions, or her Curiosity podcast. Now it's time for my favorite game. It's time for Fact or Fiction. The game is simple. I'm going to make a statement and you're going to tell me if it's fact or fiction in the chat. Here we go, round one. Fact or fiction? Youth raised with a growth mindset are less likely to develop prejudices and biases. That is a fact. According to the Society for Research in Childhood Development, young people with a growth mindset hold fewer stereotypes and prejudice towards others because they see everyone as being capable of change and growth and don't see people as simply being born a certain way. Now for round 2. A growth mindset cannot impact your mental health. Is that fact or fiction? That is fiction. Studies by the American Psychology Association have found that people who have a growth mindset towards their mental health, who believe that they can practice and change it, are better at regulating their emotions and feel more positive emotions. Round 3. Most successful business leaders have a past failed business. Is that fact or fiction? That is a fact. A study out of Northwestern University found that the average successful business owner has 1.5 past failed businesses. But it is important to note that failure doesn't guarantee a future success. They found the most important factor is that these successful business leaders analyze their failures and learn from them. That's it for Fact or Fiction. I hope you went 3 for 3. And remember, even if you didn't fail, you just learned. Now it's time for our top tips for taking action. I'll be sharing my top tips for celebrating our failures and developing a growth mindset. If you have your own tips, share them in the chat. Let's start with top tip number 1. Dream big. When developing a plan or setting a goal, don't limit yourself to what you have achieved before or the achievements of others around you. Set yourself goals that seem just out of reach. That way, even if you fall short, you still end up further than you've ever been before. The thing about setting records, whether it's a world record or just a personal best, is that you will never achieve it if you only aim for what has been done before. Now for top tip number 2. Not can't, but not yet. Wherever it is that you're struggling in life, whether it's your grades, a skill you're developing, a business you're launching, or some social goal, remember that failure doesn't mean you can't. It just means not yet. You just need to keep trying, practicing, figuring out where you're going wrong, and seeking advice. You will keep learning from your mistakes and improving until failure leads to success. And top tip 3, celebrate failure. Don't just celebrate and share your success stories. Celebrate the projects you fail as well. Share what your goal and intention was. Share how you attempted to reach your goal and tell the world, I haven't found success yet, but I will. When you do this, it'll help you to notice where you're going wrong. It'll be a good opportunity for others to provide advice, and it may encourage the people around you to also celebrate their failures. It'll help you to realize that just trying should be celebrated. It's nice when you succeed, but trying and failing is still way better than never trying at all. With that, we've come to the end of today's Global Classroom. I hope you feel confident to go out there and face the world and dream big dreams, knowing that even if you fail, it's just another step in your journey to success. If you want to learn more about Shift 25 and Shift Failure, visit shift25.ca or follow them on social. For access to all our classroom resources, award opportunities, and past global classrooms, visit educationplus.org. That's all for today's Global Classroom. I hope to see you again next month. Bye for now.